I'm gonna call you M on the brain, but what do your friends call you?
They call me M.
They call you M as well?
M, yeah.
I like this.
M on the brain.
No, at least you got it right, because a lot of people think it's like Iman the brain. They think my name's Iman. Yeah. It's a common misconception.
Why?
So, because it's spelled EMONTHE, brain.
I mean, it just seems
Logical that it would be M on the brain.
although I can't judge them. If you don't read the person's name under their like, their tag, what I guess it's Iman. Mm-hmm. Iman the brain. That's
I prefer M.
Okay. Okay, M.
But this is what I like to call a selfish episode, because I feel like Eugene and I are really just going to ask you to fix our brains for us.
Perfect.
You know what I mean? Because you're known as, and I've watched your evolution online, which has been really great to see from afar. Is like you shared your journey studying, working in and around. What were you studying at the time?
I was studying drug addiction. Yeah.
Drug addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Investigating new ways to treat relapse to prevent drug addiction, or relapse to drug addiction. Yeah.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you were in university, what were you like going into study? Because how did you get into? Was it neuroscience? Was it what was your your focus and your passion at the time?
Well, initially I was pre-med.
Yeah.
Studying biology. Absolutely hated it. And so I went up to one of my friends that was in my pre-med org I was in college, and I told him I hated it. I was like, what should I do? And he goes, well, why don't you try neuroscience? And I had never even heard of neuroscience at the time. It just sounded cool. So I switched my major to it, immediately fell in love, like aced my first exam. My professor reached out to me. He was like, congrats, you couldn't have done better. And I was like, get me in the research lab. This is so cool. So I started studying learning, memory, the perception of time, all throughout brain development in undergrad. So that's what I was doing, fell in love with research. But I always kind of knew that I wanted to be more kind of preclinical, helping people more directly. Like studying learning and memory is cool, but I wanted to be able to like help people and solve problems that doctors couldn't solve at the time.
Sorry, what does preclinical mean?
Like, for example, so preclinical research is sort of research that happens before, we take a medication, for example, to clinicians to use, right? So you're doing sort of research to investigate new ways to treat, for example, relapse, or treat depression or anxiety or Parkinson's disease. And so that's kind of like preclinical work before it goes to clinicians, basically. And so actually it's funny that you were kind of talking about nicotine before this, because I used to be addicted to nicotine, and that was sort of why I initially became passionate about studying drug addiction. And I took a class in undergrad about why the current treatments for relapse don't work. And they're really just they don't really work because they're just putting Band-Aids on the symptoms of the problem rather than actually solving the problem. And that's why research is so important, because you can go and investigate what the problem really is. And so immediately I was like, this is it. This is what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to go and cure relapse to drug addiction. I'm going to go get my PhD, and I'm going to win a Nobel Prize for this. And so from then I was like, okay, let me go get my PhD in neuroscience. So that is sort of how I became really passionate about drug addiction research and how the path that led me to the PhD. So I moved to Arizona, started my PhD in neuroscience with a minor in medical pharmacology so that I could study drug addiction. And that's what I was doing for a few years.
That's really crazy. I mean, did it work for you? Did the research help
she did
you?
stop smoking.
How do you know?
Because she had to go to university to do it.
You don't know. Are you making these assumptions?
He is making assumptions, and I would say the research in itself, no, but my knowledge of the brain, absolutely yes. I taught myself to associate, and it was vaping for me, but I taught my brain to associate it with just the feeling of disgust.
You rewired your brain.
Yes.
So you took a feeling that you didn't have before for something that you liked, and then recoded it.
Yep.
And said, this is disgusting.
Yep.
The action of it.
It's exactly what
Buying
I did.
it, putting it into my pocket, putting it into my mouth.
So I would
blowing out the smoke.
I would let myself carry it around still, and I would let myself have the craving, and I would put it in a place where it took me a second, so that there was kind of a gap between the initial craving and the action of actually doing it, because that's what addiction is, right? It becomes like this mindless stimulus response behavior where the stimulus is like seeing the vape or seeing the cigarette or whatever it is, and then immediate response. Or for example, social media, you see the notification, all of a sudden you're picking up your phone and you're scrolling and you don't even know how you got there, right? So I kind of added a little bit of space where I still would carry it around. I'd put it I would drive and I'd put it underneath the passenger seat of my car, and I would get that craving and I would like at a red light, it gave me some time to kind of rewire that association. And the brain's an association machine. You're in a relationship with everything in your life. Yes. So I would pick it up and I'd be like, oh no, this is disgusting. And even if I wanted to still hit it, I would, but then I would make sure to like pay attention to the feeling of feeling gross that I just did it. And I would sit in that feeling and really feel the feeling and make sure my brain was paying attention to it. Yeah. And over time, and so even after I quit, I would get that craving still, of course, and then immediately my brain would remember, oh yeah, no, that's gross. We don't really want that.
Okay, wait, so help us understand, or help me understand really the process of what's actually happening, because you're saying this about vaping. You're saying, disgusting. In my head, I'm like, oh, but there's strawberry flavors. I don't even vape, by the way. Never smoked.
But you love strawberries.
I love strawberries. I'm like, that's how they'd get me. But I feel like I can have the same story with like ice cream late at night or, chocolate. And then somebody else might have it with social media where they go, oh, that's exactly me. Every time I pull it out, I've lost 2, 3 hours, 4 hours, but I didn't actually want to be here.
Yeah.
So how does that work? First of all, what is happening to the brain when you're doing that? When you're doing something you don't necessarily want to do, but you keep finding yourself doing, what is happening to the brain? And then I want to get to how the rewiring actually works.
Yeah. So what's happening is really just maladaptive habit formation. And that just means the formation of bad habits. That's all it is. It's just learning. And I think, in undergrad, I was definitely divinely led on the path toward studying learning and memory first, because then I really understand the process of learning. And that's really all it is you've just learned a behavior. Your brain has learned a behavior and it's learned to automate that behavior so that it's no longer a conscious act. For example, getting up in the morning and hopefully brushing your teeth is an automated behavior.
How will they know? They'll never know.
Well, I'm hoping that that's an automatic behavior.
But before you move on from that, then why is it that good habits are harder to keep? Like, I know that working out is good for me. I know that going for a walk is good for me. I know that stretching is good for me. I know all these things. Okay. And then I'll do them and I'll feel good after doing them. But then I don't find myself craving like a gym session. I don't find myself being like, it'd be nice right now, a little bench press. I know it's midnight, but I can sneak in a little 250.
You see, I like to do that sometimes, but I'll tell you, there's a couple things there. All right, so if you want to talk about the neuroscience of habit formation, the way that every single habit is formed is it first begins as a dopamine-driven activity, right? So when social media first came out, you weren't going on social media out of habit. You went on there because you could connect with your friends, or you could, you could post something or whatever it is, right? You went on there for a goal, for a reason. Same thing with ice cream or, vaping, whatever it is. You started it because it felt good. That's why you started.
Okay, so feel good is the first thing.
Right. And then that dopamine. So dopamine actually drives learning. It drives neuroplasticity, which is the ability for your brain to rewire. So dopamine drives learning. And dopamine isn't just released when something great happens. It's also released when something not so great happens. It's more of a salience molecule, which means like, look at me. So anything that really like grabbed your attention, that's why you have really strong memories of bad events as well, because they're emotional and they raise dopamine as well, just in a different way. So yeah, anything that really boosts dopamine, it will drive that learning, right? And so what actually happens is that over time, the dopamine moves from being released when you get the good thing to being released whenever you see sort of a cue or something that represents that good thing, right? So for example, it's super, super easy to just talk about it with, drugs of abuse, but we can talk about ice cream. Initially, you got dopamine from eating ice cream. But over time, you get the dopamine from seeing the ice cream because your brain's anticipating a reward. So your dopamine moves from actually getting the reward to the anticipation of the reward, and that's craving. So that's sort of how habit formation works. And then once that happens, then you kind of begin this, it goes from this goal-directed behavior, right? And it moves to a stimulus response behavior or a cue response where like before it was like, oh, I want to eat this ice cream because I know like I want to eat this ice cream. It's going to taste good. And now it's like, oh no, I see the ice cream. Dopamine is released when I see the carton. And that's going to drive me because dopamine is also a molecule of action to go and eat it. And you don't want to. It's just that your dopamine has learned to associate the picture of the ice cream that you're seeing with a reward. And now you're not even deciding it. It's just your brain is driving you to do it.
This is why ads work.
Yeah.
But I guess it also explains to me why ads are more effective when you've actually had the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I'll watch an ad for like Taco Bell, for instance. Taco Bell ads come on all the time. It's never ever once made me go, I want Taco Bell, because I haven't had Taco Bell in my life. I don't
ever.
Maybe I had it once. I think I had it once on the road when I was with Gabriel Iglesias, and then we bought one of my favorite memories. We were on the road somewhere. Where were we? Maybe we were in El Paso, Texas, or maybe somewhere in that region. And after a comedy show, we'd go and we'd just buy food, whatever, takeout. And then one day, Gabriel and the gang, we're in the tour bus, and then he's like, he says to me, he's like, he's like, do you want to get some Taco Bell? I was like, I've never had Taco Bell. Everyone on the bus was like, you never had Taco Bell? It was literally like an ad. Everyone, you've never had, we gotta get him Taco Bell.
The bus driver, pop.
Yo, bop, bop. We're on the way to Taco Bell. So now we're driving this giant tour bus, like, bop, bop, Taco Bell, here we come. We get there. Now, we want to go through the drive-thru. We can't because the bus is too big. So we had to walk through the drive-thru because the Taco Bell itself was closed. So we walk through the drive-thru, and then they just, we ordered for everyone on the bus plus more because they wanted me to taste everything. And I'll never forget, there's a moment where I'm walking back to the bus and I'm carrying 2 bags, but I mean like huge bags. I felt like Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman, when like I'd come back from shop, but with Taco Bell. Guys, I've never felt sexier in my life because I love food. I was like, and I'm walking to the bus, and Gabriel Iglesias, he's looking at me like from the bus, and he looked, and it was almost like we had the same thought because as I got to the bus, he looked at me and he's like, you've never looked harder. And I walked on. But that was the only time I ate it, right?
Yeah.
So, and it was like, okay, whatever.
I was going to say, what did you think?
Yeah, it was meh. It was okay. It was whatever. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't something that like, it didn't stay with me. So genuinely, whenever I watch a Taco Bell ad, I don't have I should get that now. But Pizza Hut or like a McDonald's or let them flash a McFlurry on the screen for half a second.
Yeah.
I will find that machine wherever it is.
Yeah.
I will turn it on myself.
You love ice cream.
Hey, my friend.
He's the only guy I know who chews ice cream.
Yo, bro, you know me and you love me. You see me. You see me, Eugene.
Choose ice cream.
He chews it.